haven't seen Tam enough in competitive play yet to know if he's viable. But what will be
Oh, sorry, is your stream still up? Because it looks like it's offline to me.
yeah, dropped for a second and I just reconnected
Oh,
it,
okay,
but we're live again.
sorry.
But what will be interesting will be which one of them brings more to the team fight, whether the Hecarim is able to get into the back line and annihilate the Azir and the Tristana, or whether Tam is able to, swallow up one of those carries at the wrong time and deliver him into the middle of his team. So there's definitely some potential for some great outplays there. So typically you'd expect the Hecarim to really be really strong in that lane, but we'll have to see how it plays out.
Well, let's talk about Tam Kench's menu in this game. Are there people on the acquiring Exodia team that Kim Jong Poro wants to particularly devour to avoid something coming from Len Willump, or as you say, is there anyone who particularly wants to try and deliver into the middle of Len Willump?
Well, it's always great to help Warwick close the gap because he doesn't have a great one himself. So you could, of course, deliver a Warwick right on top of the Diana. Maybe Severe's got the spell shield, so it's tough. But the skill has many uses for chase down, for just getting back to lane. It's really a short range teleport. So um, okay, and it looks like we're into the rift. So just going to do a little bit of rearranging here, but on the um, can't see the champion names. Oh, there they are. Perfect. So on the blue side for Len Willop in the top lane, we've got Drator. In the jungle, we've got Harv on Shyvana. In the mid lane, we've got Oni Vixen on Diana. Uh, in ADC, we've got Vian Exo. Can you do any better on that? Fanzhou in
Uh, Phoenix, maybe.
Phoenixo on Severe in ADC, and of course the Alistair is Fruden down in the bot lane too. And on the other side, we've got CT Kim Young Poro on Tam Kench in the top lane. We've got Dandy Chap on Warwick in the mid lane, Last Light on Azir. Sorry, in the jungle, Last Light on Azir in the mid. Eye Penguins on the Trist with Dust Devil on the Thresh down in the bot lane. And it looks like a Krog start for Harv. They're moving the Tribush with the potential to invade. There's two people there to answer from red. It looks like Dandy was a bit slow getting out of the shop, but no level 1 shenanigans as of yet. Everybody's happy to get some defensive wards and just chill out.
Yeah, doesn't look like we're going to see any early aggression. Um, I maybe would have liked to have seen some sort of attempts made to kind of make Danny Chap uncomfortable to start off the game. Because, he seems like the kind of. Warwick seems like the kind of person, if he gets behind, or at least, he's kind of really going to try and push towards that level 6 as fast as possible, I'd imagine.
Yeah,
And if you can keep him from that.
there are a lot of mechanics in the jungle now to help people who are behind get back. The way that a lot of XP, for example, is shifted out into the smaller monsters rather than larger ones. And when you invade, you slow down your own jungle pathing significantly. So unless it's really targeted and you can totally shut someone down, it's a double-edged sword to try and do that. So with Warwick, because he's so resilient, I think it's not worth it. Whereas if it was someone like a Fiddlesticks or a TF or something in the jungle, absolutely you would make an effort to go and shut him down. Um, but in this case, no shenanigans. Interesting to see Warwick starting on the red side. Obviously wants that extra 2 damage DOT and a little bit of the health regen to help him clear. At a corresponding red side there for Shyvana. So no lane swaps, standard lanes starting out. It looks like Tam is starting at the Raptors, alright, which means that he may back and TP into lane, uh, which is going to give a TP advantage to Hecarim for short time, though we're not likely to see any advantage come from it.
So I'm interested to see how the matchup plays out between Only Vixen and Last Light in that middle lane, given that we've got Last Light with the ranged advantage, and it's already managed to get a reasonable amount of poke onto Only Vixen. How should Only Vixen be playing that matchup?
Yeah, Diana's got to wait till she gets a couple of levels before she's able to do a combo. Whereas Azir, once he gets the soldiers and his Q to move them, he's able to do a lot of poke, especially if she's trying to melee last hit those minions. In the bot lane, we see what we'd expect is Severe using her Ricochet to push the wave into Penguins, making it a little bit harder for him to farm. But they've got to be careful they don't overextend too much. Though it is true to say Warwick doesn't bring a lot to the ganks pre-6 unless the lane has a tremendous amount of CC. So it would be on Dust Devil on the Thresh to make a play if we're going to see anything happen down there in bot lane.
Yes, up in the top lane we're seeing Uh, Traitor, that's the one. That names are really small. Getting spat in the face by Kim Jong Poro. Has to be a little bit careful of that. I'd imagine that the using the Devourer to. Oh, and speaking of Devourer, already the percentage health on Traitor taking down a big chunk, and we could be getting pretty close to potentially a death fight. But of course, no ignite for Kim Jong Poro.
Yeah, and Drader's got the flask. They've both got a flask and tons of pots to sustain. So net wet noodle fight in the top lane. They both got to kind of like learn how much damage each other champion can do. But definitely Poro coming off the better in that trade. Of course, getting his grey health shield, which regenerates some of the traded back. But here's Harv for an early gank. Manages to connect through with the E, but the active shield from Kim Jong. Poro negates most of the damage, and he just waddles out of it like the fat man he is.
Yeah, the tough skin, which we were just talking about, proving very effective to keep those ganks at bay. Do you think, given what just happened, we might see Harv pick a different lane for his attentions?
Yeah, they're all difficult. They've all got inherent mobility. Thresh is probably the most vulnerable player on the map, but Harv is gone for the chilling smite to get a little bit extra.
Ooh, Vixen really getting chunked down.
Yeah, both sides going quite low and susceptible to jungle intervention, but it looks like Vixen's going to back off, and Last Light's going to have the advantage to push the tower to the wave to the tower. But yeah, interesting on both sides. We didn't see any of the summoners used. We've got an ignite on Vixen versus a heal on Last Light, so a little bit more kill pressure there, which is probably why she's sticking around. Ignite is
being dropped. Vixen in a lot of trouble. Does have help from both junglers, both sides. For the first blood, lovely, lovely work there from Dandy Chap.
Yeah, flashed in to get that kill, but in the top lane, this isn't done yet. Once that shield goes down, Kim Young is going to be on very low health. Again, directed camera says it's not really worth it, but just handbags are done in bot lane.
Yeah, Fruden getting very, very stuck in at the bottom. Good use of the double shield there from Lantern. But yeah, it's somewhat inconclusive fights up in the top and bottom lanes, respectively.
Yeah, I am just taking control of directed camera to say, let's keep an eye on that one for a minute, because down in the bot lane, they're trading, but there's nothing really substantial going on. In the mid lane, that Ignite was popped, whereas the heal was used, so now just the flashes on the respective mid laners. Actually, it flashed down on Vixen and was taken out by by Dandy Chap. So a little bit of pressure lost there for that, and if Azir is allowed to get on top of the matchup, it gets really hard, and then he becomes obnoxious all over the map.
Well, the camera doesn't seem to really care about this, but there is a Warwick certainly hanging out in the Dragon Pit right now, and I think he's very, very slowly chewing through that dragon, and he's about to receive a visit from the Harv Fairy. Harv doesn't seem to quite realise he's there. How does he not see this?
Oh man!
He does realise he's going to get the dragon. It's going to be the red team. They end up paying the price. Here comes the blue side bottom lane coming in. Azir going to provide some distance. The boomerang blade does not connect, and Emperor's Divide keeps him safe. Very nicely done.
Yeah, some very funny camera shenanigans, but Dandy Chap getting in, getting the dragon, which is quite early at 6 minutes. It does a lot of damage, and you saw that it took him quite low. Harv came in and didn't seem to get a smite down in time, wasn't able to get it, so advantage to red team, but a very high risk play, and they managed to pull it off, so kudos there. And that you know, we've got that one kill, we've got that one dragon, and there's only 300 gold in it, which is about the first blood. So still a very even game, 7 minutes in. No one clearly dominating the other.
Oh, Kim Jong Paro will always dominate when he can devour his opponents, I suppose.
Yeah.
Well, both of these top laners feeling pretty defensively, and a death fight breaking out. Drake is taking very, very low. Momod's surely going to do this job. Kim Jong Paro, the second kill of the game for acquiring Exodia as they continue to acquire gold and push themselves further ahead.
Vixen looks like he could pay the iron price in the mid lane too, but Drater not totally whiffing his onslaught of shadows, so not applying any damage, not applying the fear, and it just gave Kim Jong the advantage in the trade and the confidence to flash in for the last auto attack. So a bit of a misplay there from the Hecarim, and advantages all around now, 2 kills to 0. Oh, he may have overstayed though.
Good use of the home guard to try and close the distance on Kim Jong Paro. Ignite coming down. There's no grey health there to provide the shield. The Drake is taken so low, going to be traded back. A kill apiece. At least it puts Len Willump on the board.
Yeah, it does, but it was so excessive and inefficient. He could have killed him without going to all of that trouble, I think. So in the end, this time Kench is now 2-1-0. He's completed his Bami Cinder and his Giant Spell, so he's on the way to a Sunfire Cape. It's going to make it really hard for the Hecarim to trade with him. So he's got off the block and he's no longer at risk of really being shut down. Meanwhile, this Diana is having no luck in the mid lane against the Azir. The Azir, of course, the last pick into her. So we're seeing a CS differential of 10 already open up there, and it's only going to be more and more as Azir comes online. Codex completed and a double Dorrance, but only a blasting wand on the other side. Looks like a way more defensive build coming in from the Diana, going for an early Abyssal.
Well, it's going to need to be fairly defensive as Vixen being chased out of lane. Not quite low enough health to get the blood scent from Danny Shap. So Vixen going to have to continue to run away. Lost Light has very minimal health. Very minimal mana. And here comes Shyvana going also Lost Light gets taken out. Nice assist goal there. Gold even up between the teams. Danny Shap trying to get away. Has that red buff on him, slowing him down very, very slightly. Only Vixen trying to catch up as well. Danny Shap getting taken very, very low. Warrior not the most mobile of champions, and he's going to go down, evening up the kills.
Did you see the damage that came out of that Shyvana when she Dragon's Ascended and then bit into that Azir, who incidentally had used his flash just previously in the mid lane to try and secure the kill and totally whiffed it as well. So more and more losses there. But a little bit of signs of life there out of blue team. I'm glad to see it because they were struggling, but this Shyvana is coming out huge. She's going to be a terror to deal with. Meanwhile, in the top line, Draytor is getting completely shut down by this Tam Kench and has no recourse than to sit under his tower and wait for the farm to come to him. Bot lane is the only one where we're not seeing a lot of outside intervention, and they're both quite even on CS, health, items. So all of the action really in the mid lane and the top lane. The kills are even. One Drake up for red team, a little bit of gold more for blue team, but it's all square at the moment. It's hard to call a winner, but both teams starting to get a bit more confident, bearing their fangs and getting a few kills as a result.
Yeah, well, as I'm talking about in Twitch chat, Tam Kench very, very effective at building just raw health and getting that bonus damage off of his, I believe it's called the Abyssal Voyage. Yeah, it's totally Abyssal Voyage. He's getting 51 bonus damage at the moment, but as I was saying, if you continue to stack health, it can get through some pretty ridiculous amount of damage, which is why I would have loved to have seen Harv go up in the top lane with his percentage health built-in damage. But hey, not this time at least.
Yeah, it's always new champions are totally overpowered when they come out. So he may see some successive nerfs, but right now he's happy to go and just abuse it. And we may see him coming as a ban for the second game here in this best of two semi-final. So Dust Devil sitting on a ward, hoping to catch a Phoenix, but not going to have much luck there, is he? And there hasn't really been much action in the bot lane, but you got to say that favors Exodia on the red team because this Trist, she's going to get scarier and scarier as the game goes on.
Yeah, oh yes, also just like in Twitch chat, again, informing us of all the facts, which is a good point I forgot to mention entirely. It does also apply to his skills as well, so his Devour and his Tongue Lash. So even though Tam Kench is very, very, very tanky, it's still going to be, not a inconsiderable damage threat if he's left unattended in any given team fight.
Yeah, he scales excellently off health, and the guys probably have pointed out a little blind spot in our champion knowledge with Tam Kench coming onto the Rift. But yeah, definitely a very scary champion for these guys. So we're seeing Drake up in 20 seconds. Red team are backing. They have excellent ward defensively, as do blue team, but neither side has really ventured for offensive wards on Dragon's side. We see Hecarim and Tam Kench both have their TPs up. So which team is going to vie for dominance for position on this Drake coming up? The pings are coming out from red, and with the Azir they would prefer to be there earlier and set up those soldiers. So we see a convergence down onto Drake, and I think we're about to see a fight.
And it's going to be so important for both these teams, both as Devourer-based teams, to get that dragon, get those 5 stacks. Last Light getting taken very low. Empress Divide comes out, keeps him safe for now. Flash is coming in, and teleports as well.
Severe's coming in from the bottom.
Oh, nice. Only Vixen takes the kill. The Dark Passage not able to save. Onslaught of Shadow comes across. The hook catches Harv, who's being smited as well. Dust Devil gets the kill. Explosions and death everywhere. Kim Jong-Paro providing the front line. But we're seeing it acquiring Exodia being chunked down here. Kim Jong-Paro is presumably going to be the sacrificial lamb. Dust Devil is there to try and provides a little bit more support and a dark passage out of there. Not as bad as it looked like it was going to be.
They got the initial pick onto Lastley, who was pulverized out of his shifting stance, which is a beautiful move to prevent the dash to freedom there. He was really out of position before that. Drake didn't have the support he needed. Red Exodia kind of gave up on the fight. They all ran, nobody peeled, nobody applied damage, even though the Trist was there. But now they're back a little bit healthier, and they're going to try and contest this. But with no jungler, it's going to be difficult.
Well, Drake, that has been caught by that dark passage, gets across Nox, but there's some divided attention from Willump here. The dragon does go across, but Penguins is continuing to pour in damage, jumps in with the rocket jump, but gets murdered. Here comes the Abyssal Voyage coming in, and only Vixen gets taken out as well. A disaster for Willump, who, I don't know, should they have stayed for that dragon?
They got the first Drake, which is a little bit of attack damage and ability power, but they lost 3 members. They gave a kill over onto this Tristana and 2 kills onto the Azir, which is not a good trade for them at all. They got the initial kills and they should have taken ward control and regrouped, but they overstayed and they paid the price for it as Azir rejoined the fight and did tremendous damage on the fleeing members of Willump. So a good trade there. Drakes are evened up. The kill advantage goes back in favor of Exodia, and they now have just about a 1k gold advantage with that mid lane turret. So we're starting to see the teams willing to fight a little bit more, but Lastley will have to be a lot more careful with his positioning if he doesn't want to give the advantage over to Willump again like he did before that Drake.
We've already seen some very good uses of the Emperor's Divide to keep Willump from really engaging properly. But I suppose, yes, this particular time around, at least at the beginning of the fight, Lastley kind of being forced into that position rather than fighting on his own terms, really felt like it made a difference. They were able to chunk him down. And as you said, those mistakes are very, very costly. I kind of feel if acquiring Exodia hadn't made a similar level of mistake in return, this would be very much in their favour right now.
Harvest joined in the top lane. Looks like they've got Kim.
Yeah, Kim is being onslaught shots. Lovely move, pushing him backwards with the fear. Kim is so low, and it's going to go down. Oh, wow, that was a really nice attempt from the Warwick there, but Danny Chapman pay the price. Another kill going to half. Great for his Devourer stacks.
Yeah,
well-timed
gank from Harv there to join in the top lane, and he's able to swing the fight over and help Drator to get a kill down onto this Tahm Kench finally. A lot of pressure for Vixen in the mid lane on the turret too. And I think the Shyvana is going to outscale the Warwick. I don't think Warwick has brought a lot to these fights. He hasn't got any ganks that have started to get his carries ahead. So maybe a bit of a weaker pick there, but Tristana taking a lot of damage from that boomerang blade.
Well, I mean, we're seeing Danny Sharp using the attack speed Berserker Greaves, which certainly is going to help him with when he gets into a fight. But he sometimes preferred to go for something like a boost of mobility to try and get around the map a little bit more, relying on the I was trying to remember the name of it. I think it's a Blood Scent. It is the Blood Scent. Yeah. Relying on Blood Scent to keep up during fights.
Yeah, I wouldn't call myself an expert on Warwick builds, but I do think it's strange to see a jungler with Berserker Greaves, unless it's a Tryndamere or something like that. But with the Devourer enchant, of course, auto attacks are quite strong, so it is understandable why he'd do it. But his team is behind. I think he should be maybe itemizing more tanky. Would have preferred to see either like a Ninja Tabby or even Merc Threads coming through to help his team out a little bit. It's tough to say, and I say that, and nobody is really behind. I mean, Willump have a 500 gold advantage, which means nothing at this point. Drakes are tied up, kills are tied up, so there is a potential. But from what we've seen earlier, the Shyvana is a lot stronger than him, so potentially some Merc Threads to mitigate the Shyvana damage would have been better.
And that's a little cringeworthy down the bottom lane. The red trinket not being used until Harv turns up in the bush. Maybe it was on call then. But a rather abortive lane gank. No dragon to be taken in the bottom lane. Devourer-wise, we're seeing some pretty even numbers between these two. But maybe the Berserker's Greaves was the right choice, because it certainly we're certainly seeing Danny Chap much closer to finishing off that skirmishes, the Devourer stacks than his opposite number Harv.
Yeah, Harv has been definitely taking a little bit of time out of the hard farming to go to lanes and try and have an influence, and we've seen that come to fruition in the mid lane and the top. So will an earlier sated Devourer make all the difference? I think that Devourer itself is spell shields but managed to walk out at hook, but Vixen's caught.
Vixen in trouble. Good combo play there. Emperor's Divide Warwick comes in and makes sure there's nowhere to go
Yeah.
for a hero-only Vixen.
And just as I said it, he starts to come in and start having influence, now be a bully in the jungle as well. So it's good to see this from the Warwick, and it's going to help Red Team maybe start to snowball a bit of an advantage where it was just down to the individual laners before. Also like to see Penguins start to group and have more of an influence in fights, because it's just been one mad farm fest down the bot lane. And to be honest, Severe's got the best of it, but here's Last Light caught a little bit too.
Wow, the damage going to Last Light, done more than half of his health in one combo. I think once we see Harv complete that Blade of the Ruin King, he's going to be a real damage sack. And Last Light in trouble, Flash being exchanged for an onslaught of shadows. Danchap coming from the back, here comes the teleport, and everyone's coming to this party. Drayton maybe going in a little too hard, no, gets the shutdown, and even gets away with it as well. The blood scent's going to make it really hard to shake Danny Chap, and that tongue lash, Flash tongue lash, very, very strong as well. Drayton trying his best. I have to think that there's no way he's going to be able to get away. Taking to minimal health. The red turret gets picked up, evening up the turrets between the two teams, and I guess Drayton was just trying to waste Danny Chap's time.
Yeah, I did see Harv get absolutely melted there as well by the combination of King John Poro and Dandy Chaps. So maybe I spoke too soon. This Warwick is starting to have an influence now. That's 2 kills on the board from there, and with the Dreyfus, that was the third, or the Drayter. But Severe able to take a turret. And if we do look at turrets, it's two apiece. It looks like Tam may be able to grab a third up in the top. So, it's pretty even across the board so far.
Well, we're seeing very, very similar item builds from the two junglers. Given that the dragon has just come up and presumably there's going to be a fight breaking out, how much of a difference do you think it's going to mean that we've got the Blade of the Ruin King only on one team as Penguins could be in trouble, getting chunked down, taken out mid-air? That's now going to be a much nicer fight for the Willump team.
It's a really good pick onto Exodia there right before the Dragons. So they've got the positioning now and they've got the numbers to do it. So we'll have to see if Exodia are willing to commit to a fight 4-on-5 for the Drake. It's only the second stack, but there's a 3-man knock-up. Drake goes across.
Blue team does get the Dragon. Danny Chap goes in and gets torn to pieces. Emperor's Divide comes across, onslaught of shadows once more. We're seeing Acquiring Exodia being torn to pieces here. Kim Jong-poro is able to get out with the shield. Only Vixen devours the last light, and there's only Penguins and Kim Jong-poro left for Acquiring Exodia. Penguins comes in, turret goes down, then Willump coming in force down this middle lane.
Yeah, indecision was the end of Exodia there because they didn't have 5 members, so they couldn't contest a Drake. It went over uncontested, and then they stuck around to get caught by the team fight with the On the Hunt. So in the end, it cost them 4 kills, 2 turrets, and a Drake for that one Tristana pick. So they're going to need to be a lot more careful because this game will snowball out of control really quickly with the champions on Red Team. So right now we see about a 2k gold advantage, 2.5 gold advantage over to Willump, 4 turrets to 2, and the kill lead for the first time.
Well, you mentioned Baron. For one wonderful second, I thought we might see Acquiring Exodia going for a cheeky Baron attempt while Len and Willump were recalling. Doesn't seem to be the case though. Do you think is the Baron on the menu for either of these teams anytime soon?
Not without a team fight and some significant picks on the carries. If you can drop an Azir or you can drop the Severe and the Diana, then maybe you could do it on either side. But right now they're just going to have to maintain vision control and make sure that the other side doesn't have a cheeky one, as you say. But neither team can seriously contest it. At the moment, I think that we haven't seen a great deal of siege from either team, and it's going to be a kind of a test as to whether they can migrate out of, say for Willump on the blue side, migrate out of a goal lead early and turn that into a proper sieging turret lead where they can roam around the map in groups, set up waves and take turrets and get a real snowbally gold advantage and come back with items to objective fights like Baron and Drake. But Tristana does have a really good siege. Ooh, there's a hook onto Fruden.
Well, Fruden has got a lot of focus onto him. We've seen the teams split up across as Kim Jong-poro looking to try and chase down his next meal, but may have bitten off more than he can chew. The counter-offensive coming out, Kim Jong-poro tanking up so much damage. That comes in with the duress, and we're seeing Len Willump getting torn to pieces here. Instead, they're going to drop a tower at the very least. They do not have their entire team here. Towers being exchanged, and a pause coming out. I'm not quite sure what that one's about. I guess maybe we'll find out in the chat if I stick that one back on.
Yeah, what we did see there was both teams kind of posturing around, not really going for any objectives or setting up warding, but just looking for a fight. And they found it. And this time the advantage completely went over to the Exodia, having all of their carries up and available. We saw first that Fruden got caught with a hook over the wall from the river bush, and then he peeled down into the jungle. Severe peeled back, so that meant that she was separated, and Kim Jong Poro on the Tam Kench got on with the stacking auto attacks and the slows, was able to chase her down and kill her. And then it was actually Azir grabbed it, and the unpause now, but double kill for Azir, and all the pressure in the world over onto red side.
Oh, speaking of pressure, Dust Devil gets taken out. Onion's being dropped as well, but where's the rest of Willump? Nowhere to be seen. That's the kill being traded back, and more tower pressure applied. I don't know if this was the best move from Only Vixen.
That Tresh is typing hashtag worth. We see that Dandy Chap going down, but probably not an execute actually at full kills. So hashtag maybe not worth, but they have cracked the base. Hecarim got a tier 1 in top, but who cares? They've got mid inhibitor turret down, and they've got a bunch of kills onto their carries. They've evened up the kill score. They've brought the gold scores actually stayed somewhat similar with those kills going across, but I think that Exodia now need to exert influence over the next Drake and prevent Willump from having a potential aspect of the Dragon victory.
Well, the gold's still pretty darn close between these two teams. What does it mean for the game that we're now in the kind of the stage where more turrets have fallen down? What does it allow these teams to do differently?
Well, what we're seeing right now is teams trying to get ward control over the big objectives like Drake and Baron, and also get some deep wards down into enemy jungles. But it's tough because those wards become obsolete as the battle lines shift forward and back. So we do see only sight stones on the supports on both sides, where neither jungle going for it, as stacking into those auto attack items like Bladed Rune Kings on top of the Devourers. So really going for carry, semi-carry jungles here, rather than the typical support jungle, tank jungle, which has been in the meta recently. So less and less vision there, but we do see that Exodia are more willing to chip in and pay for pinks. Got one on Azir and Thresh as well, so it does give them a little bit more ward dominance. We see one pink down on either side and 2 in the inventories on red side, so a little bit of an advantage there for those guys.
I'm really liking what we're seeing from acquiring Exodia. With they seem to be really going out of the way to try and get that vision control. I really like the pink ward up in their own jungle to try and make sure they're not going to get invaded.
A little bit of a little bit of poor positioning there from Willump to have nobody there to respond to that turret wave. We mentioned this in Champion Select that the Azir and the Tristana have more inherent pushing power and will always be feeding these side waves into turrets, and when they're not caught, they'll sneak in and grab one. So very happy to take that, and it actually pretty much ties up the gold now. 5 turrets aside, 14 kills aside, and just 2 Drakes to 1 for Willump. But we'll have to see what happens in 40 seconds when the next one comes up. Baron is live, and these teams are getting strong. So if there's a cataclysmic, catastrophic dragon fight, they could turn into a Baron as well. So the objective is now on the table if there's a big enough team fight and they get out with enough health bars to actually do the objective.
Well, something else that's worth noting is between the to go back on the Devourer watch, between the two junglers, it's actually Half who's managed to state his Devourer first. And so if we see the team fight break out, I have to think we're going to see a fairly big damage spike coming out of Half.
Yeah, I think Blue Team came into a real power spike there, and they had more map control, which makes it easier to state that. But Red have moved into a good position. Looks like they're trying to catch someone here for a fight. Blue are trying to peel.
Oh, Devourer going across. They're stacking the damage of the Half. Dandy Chap gets annihilated. Here comes the onslaught of shadows coming in. Last light comes in, Emperor's Divide. Fight being cut in 2. Kim Jong-paro providing the front line so much health. Again, getting another Devourer for double kill going across. And it's Len Willump just can't stand up to all of that damage. And that's going to be a complete wipe.
Yeah, quadra kill for Azir. And it's ace for 2 going over to Exodia, getting the Drake, potentially having the Baron if they want it. They're a little bit low. But absolutely all the advantage. Exodia looked for that fight, they chased for it, and Willump were indecisive. They tried to peel, they wanted Dragon, but they didn't want to fight for it. And in the end, again, that indecision cost them. In this case, Exodia cleaning up the fight there. And we see this Azir, last light going absolutely huge now. 944, sitting on a completed Rabadon's. He's got his home guard Sork boots, he's got his Nashor's Tooth, is it? And another.
Mm.
Probably building into Luden's Echo or something, or maybe Azania's Hourglass. But he's massive now. They've fed him enough kills to mean that it's very difficult for Willem to contest any objectives if he's there and sets up his Sand Soldiers first.
Well, I mean, what I don't know, kind of, if you can say specifically, but what do you think kind of went wrong for Len Willump in that previous fight? Was there a particular mistake? Or,
Basically, the game got to 30 minutes and they got outscaled by this champ, which they had failed to shut down early game. Is kind of the provision of taking a severe Hecarim is that you'll stop the Azir and the Tristana from ever coming online. Harv never really visited bot lane in any meaningful way. Um, all the focus was on the top and the mid, and you can understand that in the current meta. But this Tristana, whew, even like both Tristana and Azir are major threats, and you can probably only kill one of them conclusively with all your cooldowns before you start to lose members. So it's a devil's alternative for Willump on the blue team. Which carry did they try to kill? Psst, you should kill the Azir first. But when that
well,
goes down, you've got a Tristana free hitting the rest of your team, as now red posture for the Baron. They know they're strong and
that
they
is
want to fight.
Dust Devil maybe getting caught out here, has to flash away, and it flashes exchange. Pruden providing the front line, blows his ultimate to keep himself safe, and we are seeing acquiring Exodia with the speed advantage to catch onto only Vixen, goes across the wall, the smite comes down, and Zonius is there, but where is Len Willump? The team nowhere to be seen. I don't know quite what happened there.
Yeah, baffling positioning there from Vixen to give a huge advantage over to Red Team here, who are only too happy to clump in and have a fight with these Sand Soldiers, all the area effect damage, Warwick to immobilize priority targets as the Azir turret goes down. Shurima's legacy protecting their back flank. They move forward onto the inhibitor and get massive damage. This is going to fall. They're going to peel now, but the map is theirs. I imagine they're going to go for a Baron, and once that's dead, they'll push in these side waves and take the game home.
Oh yeah, I mean, well, as I was saying, certainly Kim Jong-poro's Tam Kench has been rightfully feared during this game, has done an enormous amount of considering he's not really built. Well, I say he hasn't really built. Has started to build into some resistances. It just seems like it's vastly inefficient for Len Willump to try and fight him during a team fight, but the Devourers mean they kind of have to.
You always want to kill that Warwick that's duressing your carry, but there's just too much damage. Oh, but they may have caught last light. There's Emperor's Divide pushing Drader back out of the fight. He'd used Onslaught of Shadows, didn't quite connect. Here's a TP in.
Oh, on the hunt, bringing the rest of the blue team. Teleport coming in as well. And, well, that's a cheeky little pickup for Len Willump there. But only Vixen, could they have been caught out once again? The damage is easily done. Holy crap, Danny Chap is getting chunked down, as well as losing. That's two members of their team taken down at the moment. Kim Jong-poro takes out only Vixen, and I don't know if this is necessarily the fight that Len Willump wants to take anymore.
Yeah, they started out good, taking out that last light of Azir and even got a kill onto Dandy Chap too, but then traded back one onto Vixen. So this has allowed blue team to get positioning over onto Drake. It's in full vision. Dandy Chap is down, there is no smite, so this looks like it's going to be free for Willump, and that's a very good play from them. Off two picks to manage to take the Baron, takes a lot of pressure off them now.
Yeah, really beautifully played by Len Willump there. The reaction to realise that acquiring Exodia just nowhere near that Baron.
Yeah.
And using that enhanced recall to get back to base super fast and take advantage of their extra gold.
Yeah, I was going to say they still have super minions pouring down the mid lane, but they're able to save both of the turrets, and now Exodia can't get the Baron and they can't apply that pressure, so it stalls out the game for another few minutes. The scaling is still a problem in terms of that. Tristana now got her Phantom Dancer, Infinity Edge, Last Whisperer. She'll be looking to build some health regen next, and when she gets lifesteal, she'll be pretty much unkillable. The Severe has reached her plateau and will still do more and more damage, but will fall off. She won't have the same effect as the Tristana in these fights. And the Azir too. Whew, He's actually looks like he's going to build a Rylai's possibly, to just get that slow from the soldiers and allow the rest of his team to apply their damage or provide better PL2 in these team fights. So we've got the fifth Drake so far is up in 45 seconds. It'll be a good one for either team, both for the movement speed themselves and to deny it to the enemy. We would have typically said that Exodia was stronger, but because of some recent poor positioning and poor wards, they've lost some picks, and now we see that both teams are converging. That Willump has slightly better positioning right now, starting to clear out some of that wards. Exodia not really willing to commit to defend those wards. It's a standoff on both sides. Neither team willing to commit. But of course, with the Baron empowered minions on the side of Willump, it does give them that bit of a wave pressure advantage if they were willing to maybe push out bot lane as Vixen is doing, but Vixen has no TP and she's isolated from the team. So if Exodia can notice that and fight now, it'll be a 4-on-5. But it just seems like a lot of posturing and not a lot of action right now.
It does seem like it's a bit of a problem for Len Willump. The only Vixen is getting caught out at times, maybe not quite respecting the ability of acquiring Exodia to catch out someone. And again, we're seeing Len Willump starting a very, very dangerous dragon. This is completely wide open. The dragon does go down. The question is, can Len Willump get out of this one with their hides intact? Kim Jong-paro doing a lot of work to frontline. Danny Chap's getting it chunked down, but there's a lot of low health all around. Last Light picked out Fruit in there. Dust Devil being chased out the back as well. And we might see both teams being divided by the Emperor. Penguin gets taken out even through the Devour, which is keeping him safe. Greater is using his speed to try and maneuver around. He's hungry for the extra kill, but this may end up costing him. Kim Jong-paro doing a lot of damage. And such low health. Harv does pick up Last Light though. Kim Jong-paro being chunked down, and that's an ace in favour of Len Willump.
Yeah, Len Willump willing to commit, willing to go in and take that third Drake. And when they had the Drake, pop the on the hunt and go looking for a kill because of the indecision. Again, the whole game indecision, but this time from Exodia. They had their two carries, the Azir and the Tristana, off in the choke up to mid turret, and they had all of their peel and protection down by the Drake itself. And when they got separated, it was easy to start picking off targets. Now the Azir did a lot of work, but it seems like that Willump were much more willing, unexpectedly based on their previous behavior, to fight as a team and cohesively, whereas Red were split up, and that's why they lost the fight. I still think that Red are very strong, and if they fight together, they could maybe have a better outcome than that, but they have to be a lot more careful. They may have gotten a little bit complacent with the early inhibitor and the lead that they had, because now with 3 Drakes on Willump, they have a potential aspect victory in reasonable time. So it's always a concern. It's going to put a timer on the map that that Red have to tend to. I'm so bad with the Exodia, the Yu-Gi-Oh names as well, that it's a little bit hard for me to remember that one without the overlay too, right?
Oh, it's easy to remember it as Exodia.
Yeah, right.
That's how you need to say it, because it's all very dramatic. But yeah, I mean, this has been an incredibly, as I was saying in the chat, it's been a very, very back and forth game. We've seen both teams make some, some big mistakes and some sometimes just getting, out positioned or outplayed, and both teams getting wiped off the map repeatedly. It's really surprising to see how close this game still is.
Mm-hmm. I think that both teams are suffering from the same problem, that whichever team is willing to commit to a fight and go in balls deep is getting the advantage in winning. It seems like tempo had switched to the favor of Willump, that with the Drakes and with the recent good team fights that they'd had, that they were the ones grouping and pushing up turrets. They also have that Baron as well. So, both sides have looked strong, and there is a gold advantage and a third advantage on Willump at the moment. But they need to shut this game down fast. They can't stretch it out, because if they do, they'll simply get outscaled.
Well, speaking of stretching the game out, this is something which I see a lot from teams and from players, is that, I could be wrong in this regard, but it feels like the instinct to bring your minion wave to a lane is so strong that even in this case where Crying Exodia don't even have a turret, we saw Len Willump waste an enormous amount of time to go back and bring their minion wave to the inhibitor, which they didn't need, because as we saw, the minion wave got wiped out immediately. and they still have an open inhibitor there to take. It made no difference at all.
Yeah, I think the technical term is faffing about, and if you're not able to get a distinct advantage in one lane because of the wave clear, then the answer is to split push and to maybe send your Shyvana or your TP Hecarim down into the bot lane and push that out and bring several waves of minions to bear on turrets concurrently and force Exodia to make decisions about which ones they want to defend. And then when they make those, punish them and take the other objective. But right now it's really easy because Willump are just grouping and pushing in a lane, and Exodia are grouping and rebuffing the attack, and not a lot has happened really in the last couple of minutes. So both teams just farming up and maybe looking for the other team to make a mistake, which they will punish, which comes down to ward coverage. And if you notice, Exodia do not have a single ward on the enemy side of their river.
We are seeing Willump doing a lot better job now of trying to control those wards, getting those Razor Beak might to allow them to control the wards in both sides of the jungle. And I'm still baffled at how Willump actually got that previous dragon, with the Baron almost up again, and the dragon shortly after that, presumably for whichever team takes the... Well, if either team does get the opportunity to take Baron, the dragon is surely going to be quite easily taken as well.
If you're the Azir team, then you get in there first, even before it spawns, and then you set up your Sand Soldiers, and you have all of your peel with your Warwick and your Tahm Kench, and as soon as the thing spawns, you kill it. But they sat back. They worried about positioning, worried about getting caught. Oh, like Fruden did right now.
Getting caught. Fruden's getting taken very, very low, and they're almost down a member for this really important Baron fight. And we're seeing the recall coming out. This could be the chance requiring Exodia to get in there, and we see Last Light chunking away across the wall. Teleport comes in. We're seeing presumably a serious attempt on at least, well, either a team or on a Baron here from acquiring Exodia.
Yeah, Homeguard TP doesn't manage to catch anybody with the Tongue Lash. They haven't started it. If they don't start it or get it picked, then they've wasted the TP advantage. Hecarim's is almost back up, but here's a fight.
Well, yep. Wasted is the word for it. Fruden getting chunked down very, very low, and it doesn't seem like Lemon know quite how to deal with this. Nice as a spell shield to keep. Yeah, I'm trying to remember. Phanixo? Phoenixio?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Phoenixo. Yeah, but
yeah, the Baron that started up.
Fruden did recall, come back in, lose all his health, and then leave again. But this Baron...
Coming in though. Coming around the side. Red team does get the Baron, but the fight has broken out. All of the AoE going crazy here. Last Light being pushed out of the side of the fight. Does have his soldiers in there. Get the Devourer goes off. Penguins gets the kill credit. And we're seeing a very nicely played acquiring Exodia going back across the wall to keep themselves safe. They're all on such low health.
Yeah, every single one of them is on tiny health. Dragon's up and it's forfeit, but they got the Baron and got out clean. That was beautiful the way they all used their relative skills to do it. And a very nice Baron there taking off, some successive chunks onto Fruden on this. Alistair kind of gave it up. They'll lose Drake 4 over to Blue, and that's not ideal, but now they have Baron, and if they're smart, they'll just push the hell out of these waves and take the game home before Blue figure out how to win.
Yeah, so this is the first of a best of 3 in this semi-final, so only one of these teams going to advance to the finals. There's a huge amount on the line for both these teams, and this is a real slugfest of a match.
Yeah, and you can see it too because they're a little bit cautious. They don't want to throw the game by trying to get a really good play that doesn't come off. But sometimes you gotta, take the risk to make the plays and to win the games. So I'd like to see less reluctance from both teams and more willingness to commit to plays and fights and objectives. But right now the momentum is all with Exodia. They're knocking on the doors of the base. They've taken out the inhibitor. They've rotated for top tier 1. They may get top inhibitor without too much of a fight. And really, with a bottom wave pushing, there's not a lot of answers here for Willump to get out of this.
Well, Willump don't seem like they're willing to give up this top lane without a fight. Chunking through the minions, the wave play is great. I mean, just to go back to Kim Jong-poro, who's been such a massive presence in the fight on Tahm Kench, be able to neutralize repeatedly individual
There's the
members.
engage.
And here comes all the hunt comes out. Danny Chap's been isolated from his team. It's getting deleted as well. Where we're seeing Exodia getting pushed around here, getting shut back out. Dust Devil getting taken very low. The Emperor's Divide keeping Kim Jong-poro getting in some distance as he gets the movement speed boost from the Drake is continuing to try and chase, maybe not the better day, gets a kill on Penguins. Last fight getting taken very, very low, gets taken out. Phoenixio gets a kill as well, double kill, and that's going to be Len Willump looking very healthy as we've got open inhibitors on acquiring Exodia.
Yeah, an ace for three, but very poor target prioritization there, perhaps. An ace for two, I believe, but poor target selection from Exodia meant that they weren't really able to take out the Severe or the Diana, and now their open inhibitor is going to go down. That's going to even things up a little bit. With the death timers the way they are, I don't think that they're going to get an awful lot more than that. But it's taken a lot of pressure off, and that was the answer was to push the R button on Sivir and just everybody pile on top of red team and just kill the Azir. And once he was done, chase the rest of them out of there. So a really good fight for Willump. And again, the pendulum of the game swings back in favor of blue team. And it's hard to call a winner out of this. 28 kills to 24 for blue, 7 turrets to 6 for red, I should say. 4 drakes to 2 for blue. You know, it's back and forth across the board. It's coming to the point too with about another 10k on the teams where the gold advantage isn't going to mean much. So it's just going to come down to good champion scaling with items and individual plays like jumping over that wall.
Well, looking at the gold distribution on the teams, it's looking like it's Phoenixo who's got the most gold in the game on an individual character. So pretty wise pickup there with the Quicksilver Sash, trying to make sure that damage isn't taken out of the fight by just the duress from Danny Chap.
Yeah, what's interesting is that Vixen is really quite relatively poor, and although she's got quite a lot of farm, has died 7 times too, but there have been a lot of deaths. I mean, it's a 43-minute game and there's almost 50 kills in it. So actually 52 kills, so more than 2 kills a minute, which is always very bloodthirsty. These guys certainly are not afraid to go at each other, you know. And we see a death brush here by the red that's not there anymore. You know, usually you bait out an objective that is there, so when somebody will come to kill it. But if the red is already on Phoenixo in the Severe, then why would anybody walk down there to deal with a wave that's pushing out, you know? But next level,
yes, maybe a little bit of a miscalculation from acquiring Exodia. But
possible.
there's only 2 minutes till the next dragon. Do you think we might see the Vision Wars break out anew?
Most certainly, you're going to see them take a scuttle, which will lead nicely into the next streak, and also get a plenty of vision down there and have positions. So important, like to be at an objective before you need to be, so that you're ready for the enemy coming to you. You have all the vision, and then you pick the fights you want. But that's a strange back out of. Who did go back out of the Alistair there? And Shyvana. So they came in and placed a load of wards, and then they're like, right, we're leaving now. Please don't kill them. And Red got all their own wards down, and they used their sweepers and their pinks, and they clear out all the other stuff. So we've seen this a lot. If you put down wards like that for an objective in less than a minute and away, then you should be prepared to position to defend it as well.
Yes, it is a little bit puzzling. Perhaps they, well, I don't know. Well, we might be seeing something interesting from Len Willump here. Perhaps they're looking to try and use what would maybe seem to us poor outside observers to be a less than optimal move to try and encourage acquiring Exodia down towards the Dragon Ball. Perhaps instead they put some pressure on maybe the mid lane or the top lane.
Yeah, TP up for both. Hecarim is grouping with his team, whereas Tam Kench is off separated. So it seems like Willump are very serious about Drake 5. Oh, and they're looking for a pick.
Alright, all of the movement speed being thrown in. Let's see, Willis. No, Drake are being counter-aggressed onto. Danny Chap is being aggressed onto as well. The trade backwards and forwards. Last Light pushing across the wall, Emperor's Divide. Poro around the backside, Last Light gets taken out, and it looks like finally we've seen Willump realize they don't need to take out Tam Kench to win a team fight. Dust Devil and Penguin's being taken out in the back line, and that's the thing, Tam Kench is still alive at the end of the fight, but it doesn't matter.
Yeah, Phoenixo going full man mode, flashing over the wall, one-on-one versus the Last Lights on the Azir, able to take him out and zone him out so that even though they got the initial kill onto Drader on the Hecarim, they weren't able to translate it into a win. And a really, really great fight. It's going to be a very slow ace here for Willump, but now 33 kills to 25. They got all the pressure in the bot lane that they need. Top lane is down and pushing supers into the inhibitor. This could well be the game, and very close game, very well fought for both sides. But I think unless there's some serious shenanigans going on here, that Willump and the blue team, they're going to take game 1, and this series isn't over. We're going to see Exodia have a think about this and come back. I'd like to see them rethink that Warwick, but overall down goes the Nexus, and that's GG.
Wow, what an end to the game. I mean, acquiring Exodia looks. Yeah, at various times, each of those teams looked like they had completely had the game in the bag. But that last fight, what went wrong for acquiring Exodia?
Oh, I think that the fight was just played much better on an individual level by the members of Willump, that they positioned and prioritized the right carries and took them out. Uh, you even saw there how they all popped on the hunt and Hecarim speed boost, and they kind of looped around the blue sentinel and came down and caught the Severe and the Triss separated while Tam was still in top lane. He never really joined the fight effectively. So blue were willing to push the go button on fights, and they got the advantages in them, and then were able to turn those into objectives. And they stuttered a little bit throughout the game, but eventually able to take it home convincingly, and a very fun game to watch.
Yeah, really, really, very, very intense from both sides. The well, going into game two between these teams, what do you think we're going to see come out ban wise and pick wise different?
I'd expect to possibly see a Tam Kench ban, but other than that, uh, it's hard to say. None of the blue champions were. Let's see, and that scene is loaded. Cool. So none of the blue champions were, overwhelmingly strong that would need to be banned out. The Azir damage done to champions dwarfed every other player pretty much. He did 54k, almost 55, whereas next nearest was Sivir, who did 41k, almost 42. So the Azir is a potential ban. Um, but on blue side, the Hecarim wasn't super effective in the top lane. Shyvana maybe. I think that the Shyvana was really strong and was able to come into some fights in the early mid game in ganks, lane ganks, and really have an effect much more than Dandy Chap on the Warwick was. So I'm just going to stop the stream here now so that it's easier to edit it. And we're just going to restart it again as we get into Champion Select. So thanks for watching, everybody.